Welcome back to 101 East. A lucrative high-end tourist industry has made the Maldives one of Asia's wealthier nations per capita. But despite that, many of the nation's youth, about half of whom are under 18, are shunning the jobs available, and they're turning instead to drugs.
My name is Mohammed Arif and I am 32 years old. As a footballer, I was playing soccer for the school teams and even in the national team under 16 and under 19 national teams. Clubs were interested in me. I signed a 3-year contract, and once I started going with practice sessions, was the time where I met these certain players who were very famous in the Maldives, but they were using hash oil. After 1 year, I was introduced to heroin, but it wasn't through these footballing friends, it was from some other source. I started staying at home. I wasn't interested in going for practice sessions. My behavior changed completely. The turning point for me to coming clean was about 1 year back. I started coming here and I found many recovering addicts here who were very supportive of me, who encouraged me, who were motivating me that I also can do if they are willing to do. I am living with my 2 nephews. I can recall what happened to me. If something like that happened to those kids, I fear that they might also end up using drugs. And one thing I very much fear is that most of the youngsters who are coming out of school, they see an opportunity in getting money very quickly by selling these drugs. The majority of the people who are using drugs are youth, so it is the future of the nation. We need to talk to them about this, to tell them how serious it is.
Minister, before the break, you described a vision of a liberal, democratic Maldives with an open economy and a progressive attitude. Many people would say it's going in the opposite direction.
I'm not sure if that is the case, because with the kind of work that we have been able to achieve, which we have been able to do for the past 3 years, I think the signals are very clear that the direction that we are taking is encouraging. In about a month's time, we will have a new constitution that's an embodiment of all these values.
Does the opposition agree?
No, we do not. I mean, President Gayoom, whenever he is under international pressure, has always wiggled out of the situation by hoodwinking the international community with lofty words, reform programs, roadmaps, the new constitution, and be it. None of the milestones indicated by these reform programs and roadmaps have ever been met. And in fact, if we go back again to the issue of the bomb, now it came on the heels of the referendum, which was largely believed to have been rigged. The number of people who, according to the government, voted exceeds the electoral roll. And this, the more that the people are seen, it is seen that the MDP is failing to pressure the government.
Let me give the Minister a chance to respond to that.
You know,
as far as the referendum is concerned, international community has observed it, the Commonwealth did, the EU did, the local human rights commission did.
No one observed the election. This is absolutely not true.
How can we have two such completely contrary claims?
There were a few diplomats around here, but for God's sake, no one observed the elections.
I think it's unreasonable to go to that extent to say that the referendum was a farce. There are mechanisms through which issues...
There are no mechanisms.
There are. In fact, MDP has got few claims even now pending in the court. They have been looked into. They have been adjudicated.
And Gayoom is the head of the judiciary.
Umar Nasir, is there a future for liberal democracy under the current circumstances?
There should not be a liberal democracy in the Maldives. We should have a democracy that fits into the principles of Islam. If it does not fit...
And you're saying that at the moment it doesn't?
At the moment it doesn't. It should fit into the basic...
Where is it falling short now?
Let's say, for an example, if we visit a restaurant in the night, you will see there are discos in the Maldives. There are men and women dancing together, in certain cases drinking together. These things does not fit into an Islamic democracy. We are a nation, 100% Muslim nation, and any democratic element that comes into Maldives should fit into the principles of Islam.
You are also a nation that is very heavily dependent on Western tourism, which will not for a moment accept the banning of drinking and dancing amongst the sexes.
And,
How do you get over
and
that?
to incline with what Umar just said would also suggest that Islam is not a very progressive religion. And I totally disagree. Being a Muslim and being in government and being involved with the reform process, I seriously believe that Islam can provide that liberal democracy to us in the
Umar
country.
Nasir, would you be willing to forego all the income that this country makes from tourism and from the consumption of alcohol, if you will, in order to achieve the ends that you want?
I am not talking about alcohol consumption by the tourists. I'm talking about alcohol consumption of our people, of our society.
Hypocrisy.
Liquor being sold on our shops. That's what I'm talking about. It's illegal in the Maldives. Government should take decisive action and stop them, which they are not doing. This is why I'm saying that government doesn't have sufficient firmness when it comes to these things.
Is this a workable situation that he's
Well, it's
proposing?
not. I mean, I totally agree with the minister. We in this issue, in the context of liberal democracy, I would like to see how Umar Nasir defines an Islamic democracy. Now, when he goes into this context of what an Islamic state is, now, does that have any relationship to democracy at all?
What are the elements of democracy within the Islamic Democratic Party?
What I'm saying is that we don't have to convert Islam to fit into democracy. We have to convert democracy so that the basic principles of Islam are there.
How common do you think that attitude is amongst the Maldivians?
Not at all.
I haven't seen much of the same view. You know, I think the increasing view or the prevailing view has been that Islam is a progressive religion, and having Islam as within the national fabric of our country,
And yet you've
we
already-
can still have a liberal democracy.
Yet you've also said that the fundamentalist element is on the rise and is making you very concerned. How do you intend to make sure it doesn't get worse?
As I said, the government has already outlined various strategies to deal with this. The immediate is the only thing that people are seeing as being a little bit
The only
more firm.
strategy you seem to have outlined is more authoritarianism, which goes along
Not
with what the
necessarily.
NDP is
Now,
saying.
look,
Not
there are
necessarily. There are
11,000
educational
students.
campaigns that are being
No,
designed
there are
and put into
11,000
place.
students studying in Islamic colleges here. They are run by the government. We have an education system in English, and parallel to that, since Gayoom came to power, he's been running an Arabic education system and feeding into this fundamentalistic frenzy. And
But
the
you
government is unwilling
are faced with a desire for more Islam on one side, a desire
But
for
his-
a little bit more
that's
control
why
on
his
the
party
other.
is the smallest in the country.
And
We are not
yes,
unfortunately, we are
therefore
very large.
you're not
You're
necessarily
advocating.
concerned
And we
You're
must
advocating.
and we must
Gentlemen,
also not
may-
say
may- may
having
we
Arabic
speak-
as a medium of instruction in our schools
Gentlemen,
doesn't make
please,
us conservative.
We're not actually not going to make any progress if we can't actually hear each other. Mohammed Nasheed, will political reform address
I think,
the religious question?
We firmly believe that political reform, if you look into the detail of why and how fundamentalism has been increasingly coming up in this country, it's very much married to the level and the extent of suppression here.
President Gayoom is showing no signs of being willing to pass the baton or to make significant changes along the lines that have been suggested here. What do you think the next 5 years is going to hold, and how is it going to affect the political situation?
If Gayoom is a leader, he must be firm in dealing with drug and crime, he must be firm in dealing with religious extremism and political violence and all these things. The best thing for the Maldives at the moment would be for Mr. Gayoom to step down. He has failed in all the areas. As far as education is concerned, he has failed. Security for the people, he has failed. In corruption, he has failed. All these areas he has failed. He
Minister,
must step
you
down
smile,
right now.
You smile, but it does seem to be a fairly universal criticism of the Maldives from all sides that Mr. Gayoom may now be a part of the problem and not part of the solution.
We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. This country wouldn't have been this much of a nation that's talked about in the international community had Mr. Gayoom been a total failure for the past 30 years.
But the past 30
Also
years is not
assuming
what
the
we're talking
fact-
about. The present moment, is he more of a problem than a solution?
I don't think so. I think without him, there will be more problems.
I think the minister believes that Gayoom will step down. I think there is enough indication to the effect that the man is actually going to go, and it would be extremely foolhardy of him if he did seek another term.
And
we need to have a free and fair multi-party election, prior to which we need a transitional arrangement.
There, gentlemen, we will leave it. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you for joining us.